Wonderful. Thanks, Andy, and thanks for having us. The university is one of Arid Recovery's founding partners, and so it's wonderful to be here talking to all of you and to have your support. So I'm just going to set the scene for you of what Arid Recovery is about, why we're here, and what we've done so far, and then we'll have the pleasure of handing over to our other speakers to tell you some particular stories. Oh yeah, that's me. So, um, we are in a country of deserts. They make up 70% of the Australian landmass. And while most Australians, of course, live in the green margins, the deserts are an enormously significant part of our country, and particularly significant, of course, for their natural heritage, and then of profound significance to the people who call them home, especially the first Australians that have lived in them for millennia. But they have really suffered. The arid zone, as an ecosystem, has the unenviable record of suffering the worst rate of mammal extinctions of anywhere on Earth, and that is central to Arid Recovery story. The restoration of ecosystems is what we're about. And let me just paint you a little picture. So this is a scene of our lovely red sands up near Roxby Downs. And these days you might encounter a red kangaroo. Maybe you'd be lucky to come across an echidna, perhaps if you're out at night, a dunnart. But there used to be all of these animals, and we have sadly lost so many of those. I'll point out a few of them. You can see in the top corner up that way, the pig-footed bandicoot, down here, the greater bilby, and over there, the lesser bilby. And it's probably no surprise to most of you that a lot of the devastation that's been wrought on our desert ecosystems has been in large part due to these invasive species that in some cases actually preceded the arrival of white people. They got there first into the deserts because things like cats are really good at spreading. And rabbits in particular are a focus at arid recovery because they're the big enablers of the damage to arid ecosystems. They're very effective breeders, as you know, and they build up in huge numbers in good times, and then that inflates the numbers of cats and foxes in the landscape to do more harm to native prey. So this is the situation we're in now, since the 200 years of settlement. We still have our three animals in the middle, but the animals in white now are lost forever. They're completely extinct, and there's no getting them back. The animals in that peachy colour, however, they did survive, many of them on offshore islands where they were free from invasive animals, and that's where we can do some work bringing them back. So these individuals back in 1997 got together, and you'll hear from some of them today. These are the co-founders of Arid Recovery, and they brought themselves together along with the partner organisations you see at the bottom to start this initiative. And it came at an opportune time. So in the late 90s, the rabbit calicivirus was ripping through rabbit populations, and this data is spotlighting trends from where we work. And you can see that when calicivirus came through, the rabbit numbers fell dramatically by up to 90%, and they've consistently stayed down. And most importantly, they've also reduced, that's resulted in a reduction in cat and fox activity. So it's a good moment to strike and actually fence these animals out completely from an area. Which is at the time, and in some cases still, the only way to fully manage those animals. So this is where it started. The fence design was tested and tried, new designs developed at Arid, and we came up with this simple, efficient, effective method that is a 1.8 metre high fence with this curved floppy top, and that's a really signature innovation that came from Arid Recovery. It's now used across 35 other of these fence reserves that are expanding around the country, which is great to see, and all conserving different species in different environments. And you can see there, that's how it works. The cats just can't get over that overhang, and it's really mobile, so it's hard for them. All right. So yeah, since the first fence went up, we've since expanded to cover 12,000 hectares, still one of the largest reserves of its kind. And importantly for us, we have multiple paddocks 6 different paddocks, and we can use different treatments in them. So, for example, that paddock at the bottom, our original one, is currently the quoll-free zone. So when we brought back quolls as a native predator, we needed to keep them out of one spot so that we could measure the impact they were having on the ecosystem. And similarly, at the top, we have a paddock for experimental work, particularly to look at situations outside fences. So we've actually chosen to put cats back into that area so that we can understand how best to manage them as a threat and how some of our native animals could be facilitated coexist with them. So we can do some cool stuff with our setup. And these are the animals we've managed to bring back after the hard work of eradicating the feral animals. As a whole suite of them, some of them stuck, some of them didn't, but at present we have 6 threatened species that have been successfully reintroduced and still present on the reserve, all the way from the greater stick-nest rat that you'll hear from Peter Copley about in a moment, through the bilby, the plains mouse that turned up on its own and reintroduced itself. Thank you very much, plains mouse, and the western quoll as a predator, and most recently the kowari. So these animals had to go into an ecosystem as well, which has a whole lot of rich diversity in itself, and we spend a lot of time monitoring the small mammals, the birds, the reptiles, and the native flora there too. So there's just a little peek at the diversity that we have on the reserve. So the Arid Recovery Reserve is effectively a living laboratory, and out of it we've produced a significant number of scientific publications and worked with so many different people and lots of students. So many students here from the Uni of Adelaide doing their honours and PhDs here and gone on to do cool stuff, and not by design, but we've seemed to have attracted a lot of women to our work, and so we've kind of bucked that trend of women publishing articles in scientific literature as well. And also for us, I guess we have the pleasure of working at Arid Recovery and encountering some amazing wildlife and working in this incredible ecosystem. So it's our duty really to express that and bring that out to others. So we do quite a lot of work in the community with the people of Roxby Downs, but others that come to visit from all over, so that we can share what we're doing and they can get an appreciation for these cool places as well. But the Arid Recovery Reserve does not and cannot live in isolation. We're within a landscape, and our ambition really is to see desert ecosystems thriving in all of their wonderful dynamic diversity across the vast open landscapes of the outback eventually. And some of this will take more research, which is well underway. Some of it will take expanded control of threats like ferals around us and elsewhere in the country. Some of it will take work improving the resilience of our native animals, and you'll hear from Catherine Mosby about that a little later on. And all of it needs partnering with people around us, with scientific collaborators, with land users, and particularly with Aboriginal communities that own the land. So I'll touch on some of the recovery that's happening around the fence already. So we have animals like plains mice that are moving out, quolls that are moving out, but my favourite animal is our most recent reintroduction, the kowari, and this is a really cool little marsupial predator that is really threatened in the wild, and we translocated it 2 years ago to Arid Recovery as an insurance population, but also an opportunity to understand more about this really little known species and what we can do to conserve it. So we have some great work happening there, and I hope you can read more about it later.